going on, everybody? I am Mike Hughes, aka the Shy Kid, and you are listening to the Shy Kid podcast presented by iHeartRadio's very own Give Us a Shot Network. So make sure you give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already, because we're making content all off season long. We got a lot to talk about today, man. I'm really excited about this. I think there's a lot of different conversations going around the city right now about how people feel about Ben Johnson being the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. What is the certainty that a guy like Ryan Poles is going to return for the foreseeable future past the 2025 season? Kevin Warren, are we going to Arlington? Are we not? So many things to unpack this offseason, including free agency and the draft. Free agency, if I'm not mistaken, is 50 days away. So, we don't got to be in a rush. Hold your horses. We will get there when we get there. Let's just enjoy some playoff football. We got Allen versus Mahomes this week and Jaden Daniels versus Jalen Hurts. We got a little rivalry there. So I think that's going to be really sick to see as well. But let's get into it, man. We got 49 people in the comments. I appreciate everybody being here right now. If you haven't smacked that follow button yet, definitely do so to keep up to date with everything Chicago Bears. But let's get into it, man. Ben Johnson makes his introductory press conference today at Hallis Hall. It was one for the books, man. It was one for the books. It was one I truly believed in. We're going to talk about my top 3 takeaways from what he said. Let me get these. I could see it in the reflection of the picture. Let me get these water bottles out of the way. So when Germ's creating clips, I don't look like I'm a fucking slob. But man, there was a lot of takeaways today. The vibes are high. AO says the vibes are high. I think it's immaculate. What we're seeing right now from Ben Johnson is a man who's a leader amongst men. That's really what I took away. The way he conducted himself, how poised he was standing up there. A little humorous. I was a little disappointed in everybody in the media for not laughing at his jokes. The Matt LaFleur comment, several Matt LaFleur comments I thought were great. Did not hear a single laugh in the background. So it was a tough day in the office for Ben Johnson. Tough crowd. But no, in all seriousness, man, this is a guy who I feel like is a man of principle, is a man of philosophy and motivation. What I heard from Ben Johnson today was stuff I've heard from former coaches, former players that I've played alongside with over the years. This is a guy who had quotes from Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, LeBron James. Now, obviously, not direct quotes, but these are all things I've heard some of the greats speak on. Top 3 takeaways from what I've heard was all in one segment, I guess you could call it. Number 1, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Those are things I've heard preached to me since high school. And those are things that I feel like this team has not been held accountable in that sense for years. Guys get afraid. Guys shy away from the challenge. Guys don't stand up and say, hey, look, this is what it is, and this is how we're going to adjust. This is how we're going to adapt to the situation. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable is something I've heard Tom Brady say, something I've heard Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan preach. And to hear that come from the mouth of a Chicago Bears head coach means everything. We're not trying to find out the whys. This isn't the hits principle. This is athletic terminology. This is everything you want to hear from your head coach, because that's where it starts. The way your front office feels is the way your head coach is going to feel, the way your staff and players are going to feel, and it trickles all the way down to the fan base. That is the expectation. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. That is number 1. Number 2, I really love this one because coaching high school baseball, this is something I've said a million times, because you have to figure out your personnel. Ben Johnson says, how do you become the best version of yourself? I think that's really important, because that could come from nutrition. That could come from the way you work out, the way you go about your day, your sleeping routine, the way you practice and train. It could be a multitude of things. Him trying to figure out how to get the best out of every single one of his players from top to bottom. Over 50 guys, including a practice squad. How are you going to get the best out of Tyson Bagent to Caleb Williams? And that's what's really important for me for the Bears moving forward, is how you're going to get a guy like Cole Kmet to start being one of the better tight ends in this league. Not just be comfortable with, hey, I'll just be blocking today because we understand that this isn't, the best offensive line. No. How am I still going to be able to do that while also do my job? And then number 3, he ended it with, our mission is to win and win now. He also mentioned how he loves beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. That's a guy you want to hear from. We're not making excuses about, what we might be or what we could be or how far away we are. We are coming in to win games and win games right now. That's important. And I think for me, the big thing there was really just understanding the situation you're in. The greatest offseason in Chicago Bears history, according to so many people and Hard Knocks included, was in 2024. And it never really felt like Matt Eberflus was ready for that challenge. It never really felt like he was in a place to where, hey man, we're gonna take the North. I've heard it from Poles, never really heard that from Flus. Talk about the hits principle and talk about identity and brotherhood. Man, never knew anything about winning no games. That's just what it is. So to hear that from Johnson, a guy who has won the division in back-to-back years, a guy who has been around winners in Dan Campbell, I believe him. I believe what he's saying, and he's going to practice what he preaches. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what the Chicago Bears are going to be able to do. That's where I'm at. So for me, man, it's interesting. It's interesting because, look, I call them car salesmen. And I've met a lot of people in the business. I've met a lot of people in the industry, both players, media, staff, coaches. You can tell when someone's selling you something. You can tell when somebody doesn't believe in what they're even saying. They're reading off something they read on a post-it note before they got out the car to talk to you. I didn't get that vibe from Ben Johnson. I think he spoke from his heart, and I think he believed what he was saying. Whereas I think we could all agree when Matt Nagy spoke, talk about finding the whys. We got to go back in the film room and find out the whys. Why are you still here? Like that was my only question. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be a season that we remember. Good or bad. Good or bad, the next 6 to 8 months is going to dictate the next 10 years for the Chicago Bears. Because if it's same old, and Ben Johnson's just another Mark Trestman or Adam Gase, then we're in for a rude awakening. But if we got our guy, man, it's going to be something special. It's going to be something special for sure. So I'm excited about it, man. I think there's a lot of different ways it can go. Obviously, only time will tell. Only time will tell. But hearing those 3 quotes, get comfortable being uncomfortable. How do you become the best version of yourself? How do you become a winner? Our mission is to win and win now. You hear Ryan Poles say we're going to take the North and never give it back. That sounds like 2 guys who are on the same page. And to hear Ben Johnson say those things that I've heard those as Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James speak of, that's a winner. That's a guy who understands how to win. And whether you believe that or not, obviously you got to see the final product. I'm excited about it. And the coolest part to me that I thought, hold on, we got a comment here. He said that last year and what happened? I mean, listen, that's on the Lions. You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, I'm sorry. I know y'all had high expectations this year. I don't know what you want me to say. But what I loved most about the press conference was Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and company all being in attendance. I think that was special. Having them in the front row, listening to what he had to say, listening to him talk so highly about Caleb Williams was just so cool to me because you don't see that all the time. You don't see big name guys in the same room. You don't see a Tom Brady waiting for his new coach. You don't see a Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm naming guys who pretty much had the same coaches their entire career. But you know what I mean? Like an Aaron Rodgers isn't going to wait in the press conference for his new head coach. It's just not going to happen. Too big time for that. So to see Caleb and Rome and Cole, and I believe DJ was there as well, if I'm not mistaken, all there. It was something pretty special for me. And especially when you heard Ben talking highly about how Caleb is a phenomenal talent, and it was such a huge part to why he made this decision. I think it was incredible. The part I love the most about the relationship between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams is they're going to spend a lot of time together. And Ben made that perfectly clear. He made that abundantly clear today that him and Caleb are going to be spending the majority of this offseason together and the majority of training camp and preseason together. Some people think, that's the OC's job or the quarterback's coach's job. And you're right to think that. But Ben made it clear, like, he is going to be hands-on in making sure that Caleb Williams is under his wing. And I think that's something really special to me. I think he pretty much did the same thing with Jared Goff there too in Detroit. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be really interesting. So that's really what we took away from today's press conference, man. I think, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors until winning's attached to it. You can say these things, you can walk the walk, but can you talk the talk? Or you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? Sorry. A little dyslexic there. But, it's interesting. It's interesting to hear him say those things that I've heard from so many greats in the past. Anybody can go on TikTok and look up motivational speeches and pull those up, but I believe it. I believe it because to say those things, you understand every whole city is going to hold you accountable. You know what I mean? You said, how do you become the best version of yourself? If I start noticing that Rome Odunze is not utilized correctly, Cole Kmet's not utilized correctly, DeAndre Swift isn't utilized correctly, then I'm starting to wonder, did you utilize them to the best of their ability? Did you get the best out of them? So to say those things, you got to stand on those things as well. And I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for that. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys being here. This is a shorter episode. We're obviously just breaking down what we saw from Ben Johnson's introductory press conference today. Super excited about it. Super excited about the future, man. Back-to-back years, we got the number one guy, man. Caleb Williams in 24, Ben Johnson in 25. The draft is coming up. We got the number 10 overall pick. I'm excited about it. We'll see what shakes. Until then, man, make sure you give us a follow. Give us a like if you haven't already. Check out the Give Us a Shot Network. Until then, bear down, baby.
Give them a shot to do what?